Questions. I'm going to explain 3 things that are crucial in this debate. A, what does a nation state actually mean, the decline mean? Because we think CG takes the most extreme case and takes the space to total diminishment. We need to understand what actually stays and what that means. And then my second question is going to be why it's going to lead to, and talking more about populism and racism and things like that. And thirdly, I'm going to talk more about the individual equal opportunities that the government play a lot about and why it doesn't happen as positively as they try to claim. Before that, 2 points of external rebuttal. So A, about like the dramatic point of borders being absolutely horrible and things like that. It's a weird logic because A, it doesn't seem like borders doesn't happen on their side of the house because the nation states seem to exist. And also a lot of analysis that they need to do and then convince you that it's also a good thing to have open borders in general and why it is such a positive thing, right? So already think the borders are problematic. Secondly, borders, even if they limit you somewhat as an individual, is a very positive thing also for you as an individual. Why is that? Because if you don't have borders, if you don't have clear rules, the ability for you to immigrate, the ability for you to travel is very limited. Just the fact that you have the clear border of the country and you can't travel, it means that yes, you have more opportunities because having laws of travel, having laws of immigration exist already on our side of the house, right? We totally support the fact that you can immigrate, you can leave your country, we are fine with that, but we also find with your nation having the power to contain the borders, to have some sort of regulation on the borders, and this will only happen if your nation state is powerful enough. This logic also accounts for a lot of argumentation that we get about the minorities trying to escape the country. So let's understand the following. We are fine with allowing refugees granted access. We are fine with allowing specific minorities to gain access, right? We aren't okay with that on a broad, huge level. And we think just the fact that even on the status quo, the people who are able to immigrate aren't the poor people suffering that OG tries to claim in this debate, right? Those are the people that are at the richest. They're not the people that are suffering the most. So already we see them are not actually the focus of the debate, even though it sounds like a huge impact for you as an Iranian or whatever minority, right? You can still leave, and the people who are leaving are the people who are better off, which means this is not the great thing in this. So let's go into my first question and understand the following, because as I said, CG takes a burden that isn't in this debate, and they never actually analyze it, right? Because they tell you it's going to be amazing if we're going to have no ethnicities, no borders, people are going to live whatever they can, they're going to lose any kind of ethnicity. The analysis from a certain decline to a diminishing of the nation state is a huge analysis, never given, and frankly, I don't think they should analyze that because it seems like losing any kind of borders, losing any kind of nation state would be a horrible idea. So what we say is the following. If we have a decline, we're still going to have some things left, right? So let's understand what we have left. We say just simply the fact that you need a narrative as an individual, right? You need a narrative that is common for your people, the sense of history that Neta talks about, the fact that, yes, people are still going to teach you in school your history as a nation. It's something that's still going to happen. You're not going to erase it completely because something that goes deep within your country, something that your grandparents have been taught. And yes, things like skin colors and the fact that you've been there for years are crucial for you. So we're still going to have some sort of narrative in either side. And people just have the basic need to create an in-group, out-group situation, right? You want to feel like you belong to a group that have a clear limitation, you know what it will bring. Even this vague line of globalization makes it very hard for you to distinguish. But then Alon says something that really goes for our side because he says, well, nation state is always exclusive, right? Nation state is always going to be in-group and out-group and things like that. But he also tells you the narrative changes. We seem like 2 things that doesn't account at the same time because we agree that we have some sort of in-group and out-group, but it changes all the time. It means that the nation state isn't in itself an exclusive kind of form. The fact that it changes all the time and being a German is different from what it was 100 years ago, it still means that I feel like I live in a powerful state. I still feel like I can belong to the place that I live. I still have the history and the culture and things like that, but I also have the kind of change in identity that happen, meaning that I can also identify with the kind of nation state even if I'm an individual that is missed. Why is that important? It's important when you're taking into account just the fact that you, A, as a minority, can actually be a part of it, but secondly, when we talk about what are actually the limitations, because a lot of talk in this debate has been about immigration, about people coming into the new countries, and that seems to be a positive thing. But when is it positive? When you take CG analysis, into its fullest, right? When you take about the fact that people no longer care about ethnicities, no longer care about borders, then it is fine, the analogy works, but they never analyze that. When you talk about the situation of a certain decline, the situation goes that you still have the school, you still have education, you still need to have the culture, but then what happens is you have a lot of people coming into your countries with a different culture, with a different sense of identity, and you also want to immigrate because of their analysis, because a lot of people think they're going to be better off in different countries. So we have a push of an immigration into a country. Why is that negative? Because exactly when we talk about the fact that you still want to have a certain sense of identity. I think the national identity is the clearest thing. It means that now you are in a fight for your identity, and this is exactly what I'm analyzed for you. And this is more important than any kind of analysis talks about the corporation thing like that, because while corporations happen on both worlds, and it's also clear why they are so bad when you compare to the power of the nation state, what we say is crucial, because now we say the nation state might be fine, we say some leaders might be okay, but now you push into the worst leaders. You push into racism, you push into antagonism. When you didn't have the kind of everyday contact with someone threatening your culture, you didn't need to be a racist on an everyday basis. You didn't need to choose the most radical populist politician to get into rule. But when you feel like this certain threat on your everyday presence, when they come there, the kind of thing of racism, the kind of thing that you now need to oppress the minorities, you need to make sure that you maintain the culture, this is what happens. Before I continue, open.
Even if a few poor people with no social media are upset, it's not enough compared to the more of the global poor that now have a job, more friends, and less wars.
As we said, a lot of those benefits happen on the outside of the house, just on the fact that economic stability happens, just the fact that it can happen without losing the nation state. You can still help those poor people without actually them coming into countries and creating this kind of surge of populism that we're actually seeing. Meaning that just on the level that we have more racism and bad powers coming in and gaining more support, we also say that this leads into, when you take into account the individual kind of freedom that they talk about and the fact that they're not helped but the poor, and this is the third flash about the ability to opt out and things like that, we say that you have less ability to opt out once you have more kind of a populism, once you push more. We say on a stable level that the nation state already established the culture, already established the identity, and you don't need to fight for it all the time, and you don't need to be racist because you feel fine in your position. You can accept immigrants and you could be fine with them. When you feel like you should immigrate because you will have those great opportunities in different countries, when you feel like you are better off and this is an easy way for you, you're more likely to immigrate and then experience the kind of hate and racism that you experience in the new country and having the difficulty to immigrate. So the kind of equal opportunities doesn't actually happen when you combine it with the kind of trying to fight for national identity. This is likely to happen from the decline of the nation state. At the end, we say nation states establish positive impacts for the individual living in them, but also once you make this decline because of globalization, everyone is worse off, the people in the countries and everybody trying to immigrate there. We are proud to oppose.